All right, some breaking news before we go to the next story. The National Assembly Speaker, Thoko Didiza, has survived a motion of no confidence against her. Around 282 MPs voted against this motion, and around 101 MPs voted in favor. You saw the vote that was currently that was underway. In fact, as you can see there on the side of your screens, it was taking place in the National Assembly, brought by the EFF, as you would have seen, as we've been reporting in greater detail, how the party was quite unhappy, with her saying that she will abide by the court's ruling as far as the challenge of the Section 89 work of the committee is concerned. So now the National Assembly Speaker has survived the motion, 282 MPs voting against the motion and around 101 MPs voting in favor. I do understand our colleague Bulelani Phillip is on standby with this very story. Bulelani, good evening to you. Let's talk about the voting, how all of it panned out.
Well, voting just finished a short while ago, and the results are in. As I've said in your intro, 282 MPs voted against the motion, while 101 voted in favor. So that motion has now been struck off, given that there were not enough numbers to actually carry it through. So Mama Thoko Didiza will be back in a seat tomorrow, following a sitting of the National Assembly. But of course, there was a clear indication from after the debate that the numbers would not be enough for her to be displaced from her chair, because the majority of parties, 10 of them in total, actually, debated the matter. But yet, at the end of it, said they would not vote, in favor of the motion, even though they had reservations about some of the issues around Ms. Thoko Didiza. But on the other hand, 6 political parties voted in support of the motion. Of course, following that, interim interdict application row between the Speaker as well as the Impeachment Committee. As things stand now, Thoko Didiza will be back in her position in the next sitting.
And Bulelani, as you speak about, the debate, and we heard the different political parties, just voice their own positions, around the story, but also even in the lead up to this particular moment, we've been hearing from a number of them. But it appears as if the, debate, one could even say, was trenching along the lines of the GNU members as well as those who are non-GNU members or are not even, aligned with the Government of National Unity. Was that the indication?
I can say generally, yes, the numbers were split along the lines of the Black Progressive Caucus, which includes the likes of the EFF and the MK Party and the ATM, as well as on the other side, the GNU members, which include, of course, the ANC, the DA, and the like. But, of course, there were some parties that played the middle ground, saying that while they had some reservations about the conduct of Ms. Thoko Didiza in this process leading up to the issue that she would abide by the court's decision in that interim application by the president, they said that while they had reservations about her stance, but in this instance, they would not actually vote in favor of this motion because they felt that it did not meet the threshold for the removal of the presiding officer. So in the end, it was a numbers game, as we've indicated earlier on. The EFF and its partners did not have the enough numbers to topple her. But on the other hand, I guess there's still going to be some debates behind the scenes around what are the kinds of things that some of these parties want the Speaker to correct in order for her to be on the good side of some of these political parties. But in the main, the EFF had actually advanced about 4 issues. But what they said is that it appears that in this situation of the President court case, she took a partisan style instead of protecting the integrity as well as the standing of Parliament. But on the other hand, the other parties that are under the GNU, they felt that if this motion was allowed to actually go through, it would create a very dangerous precedent, because the political parties would use such a motion even in future when they want to topple a presiding officer that they do not agree with politically or legally. So in the end, I think there was some kind of consensus that perhaps maybe because of the numbers, this motion should not go ahead.
Bulelani Phillip, Bulelani, thank you so much for wrapping that for us, that vote there. We remind you, 282 MPs voting against the motion and 101 voting in favour. Thoko Didiza survives as the National Assembly Speaker, and this is a motion, as you heard there from Bulelani, was sponsored by the economic freedom fighters.